Hey there everybody, welcome to Trial Gaming. I am Balmong4 and today I'm super excited to be able to announce a brand new series to the Yu-Gi-Oh lineup on this channel. Yu-Gi-Oh! Legendary Duelist Showdown. Now honestly guys, this series, I want to be frank, came to me through various duels I've had throughout some of the series. Sealed only, budget battle, and even some online locals. Because I can't find locals near me, unfortunately. But honestly guys, when it comes down to it, this series came to conversations about talking about the anime characters and what those legendary duelists from the anime would do if they played during one period or another. Now, the concept interests me enough that I decided I want to make sure it was completely sort of randomized. So I came up with the Showdown Wheel. Showdown Wheel will decide how we go about this. Now, it's easier to explain if I explain the rules. So let's get to the rule. Legendary Duelist Showdown is a series where each episode will feature a match, a best 2 out of 3 match against a guest duelist. To decide which legendary duelist we represent, we will spin the Showdown Wheel. Note, a legendary duelist is any duelist who appeared in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. The Showdown Wheel will contain the following: Viewer Showdown, Guest Showdown, Random Showdown, and the Patreon Showdown. Now, what exactly are those? Well, Viewer Showdown. The top like comment from the previous episode will decide 3 key things. First, 2 legendary duelists, one for me and one for the guest duelist to represent. A date. The chosen date will represent which cards and ban lists will be used. And then a card for each legendary duelist that must be successfully used. Before the match ends, failure to use the card results in a loss of the match. Cards must somewhat match each chosen legendary duelist. Okay, I know it can be difficult to find a card that actually matches. Moving on there, Guest Showdown. Guest Showdown, much like the Viewer Showdown, instead the guest duelist will decide. They will choose 2 legendary duelists, one for me and one for themselves to represent. A date, again the chosen date will represent which cards and ban lists will be used, and a card for each legendary duelist that must be successfully used before the match ends. Failure to use this card results in a loss of the match, and the card must somewhat match each chosen legendary duelist. Now this, I am hoping that the guest will give themselves as difficult of a card as they give me. I'm pretty sure that won't always be the case. Moving on to the much more complicated Random Showdown. Now the Random Showdown is multiple wheels to decide it. It's completely randomized and it's decided by multiple wheels. 2 legendary duelists, one for me and one for the guest duelist to represent. There's first a series wheel. The series wheel decides which series to select a legendary duelist from. Second is the character wheel. This decides which legendary duelist we will use. Note, each wheel will be spun twice, one for each duelist. So honestly, we could end up with 2 characters from 2 completely eras, or we could end up with the same era depending on the wheel decides. A date. The chosen date will represent which cards and ban lists will be used. Again, 2 wheels. A year wheel, deciding which year, and a month wheel decides which month. If, for instance, we land on the year that Yu-Gi-Oh! Came out, and it lands on a month where no product was released, like in case it happens before Yu-Gi-Oh! Was actually released, we will do some juggling to make things work there. But for most cases, I think that won't be an issue. And then finally, a card for each legendary duelist that must be successfully used before the match ends. Failure to use the card results in loss of the match, and cards must be somewhat matched each chosen duelist. Now, when it comes down to this, each legendary duelist, I made a deck master wheel, a customized wheel for each legendary duelist with a pre-selected list of cards that represent the duelist and time period. This took a ton of research, guys, and this is the reason this show has been in the making for months. I have almost every character from anime. I've seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Multiple times, obviously seen GX and 5Ds multiple times. I've seen Vrains once. I have never seen Zexal or Arc 5, Arc V, whatever it's called. I haven't seen either of those yet. I did look up older duelists and I found out a difficult somewhat, or a deck master type S card that would be somewhat hard to summon or use for each duelist. There are a couple, it kind of matches, but you guys get it can be kind of tough because we're looking throughout every character throughout every time period. That took a ton of work. And then finally, guys, Patreon Showdown. Honestly, Patreon Showdown is kind of like the first 2. 1 random Patreon comment on Patreon from the previous episode will decide 2 legendary duelists, one for me and one for the guest duelist to represent. Again, a date, the chosen date will decide which cards and ban list will be used, and of course a card for each legendary duelist that must be successfully used before the match ends. Failure to use the card results in loss of match. Cards must somewhat match each chosen legendary duelist. I know you're probably sick of hearing me say those 3 things multiple times, but those are the rules. Of course, Patreon members receive 24 hours early access to this series and all other series on the channel, plus other exclusive rewards on Patreon. I just updated some of the rewards, guys. If you haven't, check it out. I really appreciate it, as any money from the Patreon will go back right into the channel or the Patreon exclusive series, which will be coming out later this year. This series is something that is amazing, and I'm super excited to get into it and to actually be able to do, because this will give me a way to not only not worry about finances or buying packs or waiting for cards to be delivered. This way I can constantly make videos with guest duelists and be able to do other people, and maybe people who don't want to battle against sealed only decks, maybe people who like retro decks or like this kind of thing, will be able to reach out to me, feel more comfortable to maybe work together on this project. Honestly, guys, I'm super excited about Legendary Duelist Showdown. I think it's going to be a great video. I think it's going to be a great series, and I cannot wait to do the first episode. Now, honestly, guys, this is your chance. Down in the comments below, you can always say this every episode, because the reel always decides everything. So that doesn't mean a viewer showdown will happen every episode, but keep in your mind what kind of viewer showdowns you would like to choose. In case it does land on a viewer decision, your comment could be the one that decides the whole next episode. So start brainstorming those. But also, if you want to see a duelist I face as a guest duelist on here, let me know in the comments down below. You want to see someone cool like Pokemonarch, Ray Knight Gaming, Sparkman, let me know. If you have someone I don't or haven't faced yet, reach out for them too, because I'm super excited about this series. This series is absolutely, I think, going to be completely different from any other Yu-Gi-Oh series I have on this channel. It's not going to use physical cards, so I don't have to worry about buying cards, stuff getting lost in the mail, stuff getting delayed, and I get to just have fun, because I sometimes think I worry about packing stuff or building a deck, and I think this time, or sticking to a budget, and I think I crunched too hard on lists and numbers, and this is going to be my chance to just let loose, play some older archetypes, some older stuff, represent some characters that don't use as good of meta decks or even meta whatsoever, but it gives me a chance to play that and just have fun, which, to be honest, Yu-Gi-Oh is all about. And I'm super excited to be able to bring the series to you guys. I also think it's fitting because, as you know, the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh passed away. I'm actually recording this the day out, same day, later in the afternoon of the day he passed away. And for me, it horribly affects me. I was debating if I wanted to make a video about that. I don't know if I will. And to be honest, guys, I think this is a nice fitting tribute to be able to look through his awesome creation of various characters throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh anime and be able to bring their decks and their personalities, hopefully a little bit, to the channel, to the series. I will not be doing any accents. No, I'm sorry. No. I'd much rather cosplay as the characters than do any accent. Okay. Now, honestly, guys, let me know what you guys think below about this series, about the channel, about where we're headed, and ultimately, until next time, tag out.